Welcome back to Creep It Weird with Liss, and Natty has a new setup. I am bummed because I meant to put my Diet Pepsi in the fridge earlier and I forgot. So now it's in there getting cold and I just have to settle for water as we're recording in this heat.
Oh no. I don't have anything. I'm dry as a bone over here.
Ah, come on.
I meant to get a drink, but I don't know where I would have put it. I know, I got nothing. Well, I do have some kind of mixed wine, something. It's strong as shit, but it's in the fridge. I put it in the freezer and it froze last night. So apparently it's not that much alcohol because it did freeze.
What is it, like moonshine No, it can't be moonshine if it froze.
No, it's like think of it like a blue Hawaiian ish. I played beer pong for the first time, and we didn't use beer because we can't have beer. So we used this liquor instead.
I love beer pong.
I never played before. I suck at it. And yeah, I just suck at it. And that's all I need to say because we could all guess where it went from there. I was like, we ended up playing at the end with water because it was so
Oh,
bad.
no.
It's okay. It's all right. We made it through it. Oh, I've got something to tell you. You were supposed to remind me. So the weirdest things have been happening around my house. The other day I left and I came back home and my cup of sugar for my coffee that's in my kitchen was by my bed with a partial glass of water. And no one had been in the house. I checked the cameras, everything, and everybody's like, we don't know what you're talking about. So supposedly nobody put it there, but it just showed up. Then the other day, my other half was asking me if I wanted coffee, and I kept saying no. But we went to leave, and I look over, and there's a coffee cup by my coffee container, like on my Keurig, ready to go. It had sugar in it and everything. I'm like, did you do this? And he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I did not do
Are
that.
you sure this wasn't drunk Natasha from beer pong doing all this?
This is before beer pong, and like none of us can figure out what's going on.
Gertrude, she wants a cup of tea.
Yeah, and like lately it's been obsessed with the sugar container. So something about sugar. There was even sugar in the cup by the Keurig machine.
How strange. What a weird thing to be haunted.
I
Not
was
like, I don't know.
I know, right? I was like, out of all the weird stuff that could happen, it's like obsessed with my sugar container.
I wonder what happens if you put in sweet and low or switch it up to like equal or something.
Well, I can't have it, so.
No, not for you, just for the ghosty.
Well, I know, but why would I fill it up
You
for
don't have
that?
to fill it up.
If I
You can get
can't-
some at like Dunkin' Donuts or Cumberland Farms. Just grab a few packets, put it in a cup, and see what happens.
Oh, yeah, they'd probably be pissed, like get all irate. Well, and then the other thing, too, is so he stayed the night and he heard this big thump and he couldn't figure out what it was and it didn't wake me up. And I was in bed the whole time and he got up the next morning and there was a pot on my floor, just like sitting on my kitchen floor.
Didn't we do a story that there was a pot on the floor for something? With the Gryla, one of her kids, wasn't there like but wasn't there one like under their bed or something?
Yo, pot liquor. Oh, we were talking about they used to keep containers under their bed to store food, like
Okay,
Tupperware
so I'm
containers.
off.
Yeah, but this is just sitting on the floor.
Maybe it's an elaborate April Fool's prank your boyfriend's playing on you and he'll let you know when you go crazy.
And I kept telling him, I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure it's not you? And he's like, I'm positive. I'm like, are you swear? Like, do you promise? And he promises that it is not him. My kid was gone. It wasn't me. And no one else has been in the house.
That's a bizarre haunting. I guess it's not malicious. It's just moving your sugar around.
Yeah. I'm going to get ants. And it didn't spill any sugar. So at least it's clean.
Could be worse.
But yeah, so I was like dying to tell you about that because I was like, dude, Melissa would freak out in my house right now because shit's going awry.
That would be more annoying than anything. You go to make your coffee in the morning, you can't find your sugar. That'll ruin your day.
Yeah, well, I left it right by my bed.
Very strange.
But yeah, so that's what's been going down in the household. Apparently I got either a new ghost or one that's pulling a new prank.
The sugar problem of 2026.
The sugar spirit.
It was just so hot today and I had to go food shopping because I had no food in the house.
So my mom called me and was like, do you want to go to the store? I think she called me because I was like, either I was dreaming that she called me. I'm pretty sure she called me. It was like, do you want to go to the store? But we had to record. So I was like, I was like, I'm going to have to get groceries another day because I'm almost out of everything.
You walk in, you spend $100 just looking at a shelf. Like food is so much money.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't enjoy food shopping anymore. I used to like trying out new recipes. Now I'm like, all right, what's on sale? That's what we're having this week.
Yep. That's the way it's got to be nowadays. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's insane. Gonna start getting some. I wish I could have chickens in my backyard. We have too many coyotes. They just eat them. And even when you make the pens, they get in there.
They just stink.
They do stink.
Yeah, chickens
I've never
stink.
had any, so I don't really know anything about them.
Oh, chickens smell horrible.
And then you couldn't eat them. Well, you could, but I'd be too attached.
Well, food's food, baby.
And I'd have like burials for them and stuff, and you'd be like, "Yep, fried chicken night."
You'd have all these little baby crosses in your yard, and I'm over here like rest in peace as I'm mowing down on a chicken leg. Yeah.
Yeah, we're different in that way, and the cannibalism thing. Um,
Well, don't knock it till you try it, I suppose.
so the story I'm bringing today is kind of a continuation or a prequel to the one I did last time.
Okay.
There's a lot of conspiracies out there, like the moon landing was fake, Britney Spears is a clone, which I believe she is.
Mhm.
The craziest one that I kind of like is, have you ever heard the Himalayan salt we eat, maybe petrified giant meat?
What? No.
Look up videos. Like the salt before it's broken up literally looks like the inside of a human, just petrified.
Ew. And you call me the cannibal.
I don't eat Himalayan salt anymore after I heard that a while
Oh.
ago.
I probably will still use it.
No.
Because who cares? Actually, I really don't use it that much anyway. So I'm one of those oh my gosh, ionized or whatever. The one with the little Morton lady, that one.
I go that or rock salt, depending on what I'm making.
Yeah.
But today we're talking about one of the more well-known, I don't even think you can call it a conspiracy anymore, MK Ultra. Because it's
Ooh.
proven, so it's not a conspiracy anymore. I mean, parts of it probably still are.
It was a conspiracy, but it has been proven true.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of questions
Yeah.
about everything about it, but yeah, okay. Although we never know the full extent of the program, we do know that the CIA ran a top secret program with a wide array of human experiments, including administering high doses of LSD, electroshock therapy, sensory deprivation, which sounds like hell. Excuse me, I don't know what just happened to me.
Yeah.
Just to name a few. You ever choke on absolutely nothing?
Yes, all the time, actually. I'm talented like
Yeah,
that.
right? Trip over your own 2 feet? Yeah, got it.
I do that all the time, too.
The government did all this with the goal of mastering mind control, a feat which they believed other countries had already accomplished. It's said to have run from 1953 to 1965, but some say up until 73, so around like 20 or 25 years, but we'll never know the
Oh, wow.
exact anything.
They like to make everything hard to get to, which is ridiculous.
It was run in hospitals, prisons, universities, just to name a few sites throughout the United States and into Canada. They would use sensory, I already said this, sensory deprivation, electroshock, hallucinogenic drugs, many times without the consent of the subject. Some of the subjects were children, and this testing led to a lot of psychological damages to many of the participants.
As you would imagine.
How traumatizing, especially, I can't even say especially, but to me, sensory deprivation seems like the scariest.
I think the hallucinogenic one would probably be the worst one for me. I see some weird shit.
You see it now, though.
And that's sober. I know. Imagine what it would be like if I was on a hallucinogen.
You'd be petting the fire hydrant.
I could put a leash on it, pretend I'm walking the hydrant.
This all started back in the 50s, the peak of the Cold War. It was time of paranoia, heightened tension. The U.S. thought that the Soviet Union, China, North Korea had found a way to brainwash their prisoners. So the U.S. government was like, hey, we want that. MK Ultra was approved in 1953 by the CIA director. These were all government-sanctioned acts to try and develop mind control or to use it for interrogation purposes. They focused on chemical or psychological control to ideally create something that could have a person commit an act and then have no memory of it, like the Manchurian candidate.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, I need coffee. Or to to carry out tasks without even being consciously aware of it. So you're making like a super soldier. But the government couldn't be responsible.
Yeah, of course they can't. Because if it's anything nefarious, they can't have anything to do with it on paper.
Because they don't want to be like, hey, we want to make this to find brainwashing.
Yeah, exactly.
So they set up a front company called the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology.
Yeah, that tracks.
There, the CIA would try different ways to hypnotize or render hypnosis easier with the help of drugs. Or something that could erase memories or induce amnesia.
See, that's scary as hell because you could put that stuff in anything. Phase one, I feel like it'd be easier to brainwash someone if you've erased all their memories.
This is so off topic, but in true crime, you know the toy box killer, right?
Yes.
He is terrifying because well, not all, but a lot of the women that he took,
Mm-hmm.
he somehow brainwashed them and they had no idea what was done to them and until they saw themselves
Yep.
on the video.
Yep. That is so scary. I can't even imagine what those women felt like when they realized it was them. Because you know that some of the stuff he was doing left marks. Can you imagine waking up and having no recollection of how this is done to you?
Mm-mm.
Like that is devastating.
Yeah. Yeah. The CIA heard of this new drug that was made by chemist Albert Hoffman. Hoffman discovered this drug while he was working at a lab in Switzerland. He was trying to find a respiratory or circulatory stimulant that had no effect on the uterus, like the Coramin that they were currently using did.
Okay.
So he started working on this. Then he kind of put his work away for about 5 years. And then in 1943, he went back to it and he accidentally ingested some of his drugs by touching it with his fingers, like he didn't have gloves on. And he later described it as, quote, everything I saw was distorted as in a warped mirror. And he went home. He said he saw, quote, fantastic pictures in extraordinary shapes with intense kaleidoscopic plays of colors. And this drug that he discovered was LSD.
So that's something, all right.
So he was basically tripping at work.
Sounds like a good time.
Not for me. I would hate that. The next day, he went into work and he dosed himself again. This time, he upped it to 250 milligrams, which I guess is about 10 times the amount of a normal dose. I am not an LSD person and won't ever be.
Yeah, me
It's
neither.
not my thing.
About that much.
Panic set in. He couldn't speak for a time. He even had a doctor called in to check him out. And the doctor found out that he was fine, except for his pupils were dilated and all of his vitals were normal. And then the euphoria and all that hit him again. He thought he found like this wonder drug. He did animal trials, then it was patented and was intended to be used on a possible way to treat psychiatric patients. Word of this drug, LSD, spread within the scientific community and made its way to the CIA. And they heard about this new drug, LSD, and they were like, hey, let's try that.
Yeah, let's try it. Why not? YOLO.
Exactly. The CIA was like, we'll take it all. So they agreed on a price of 240,000, and this was in the early 1950s. It would be about 4 million today.
Damn.
The CIA purchased 10 kilograms, enough for 100 million doses, trying to find a way to use this drug for mind control. And this wasn't the first time mind control drugs were tested or sought after. In 1916, scopamine was endorsed by an obstetrician who boasted that when he gave this drug to women during childbirth, they could still answer truthful to responses.
Wait, so they're giving LSD to pregnant ladies?
I'm saying LSD wasn't the first time because before when
Oh.
women were giving birth, they were giving scopamine to them and they'd still, like, they'd be loopy and out of it, but they could still truthfully answer. So to them, they're like, oh, a truth drug. Not
Oh,
not
yeah.
that she's in excruciating pain and maybe this is numbing it and she can still just talk. But the U.S. Office of Strategic Service had also been experimenting with mescaline, scopamine, and marijuana during World War II, trying to find that truth serum. Wouldn't that be funny, seeing the marijuana tests when they're giving weed to people to
Yeah.
try to get them to tell the truth?
Here, take a tote. Take a tote. Let's see what happens. Toke it up. Toke it up. And then they come through and they're like, this is all illegal now. It's like, wait, what?
I just picture people cracking up. They found that all these did make you more talkative, but not necessarily more truthful. And even in the 1940s, the Nazi scientists tested drugs like morphine, barbiturates, hallucinogens on prisoners of war with the goal of creating a truth serum. In post Operation Paperclip, which was the secret U.S. government intelligence program where over 1,600 scientists and engineers were taken from Germany after World War II. You know about that, right?
Run that by me one more time.
Operation Paperclip.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've ever done like a deep dive into it, but I have heard of it.
It's basically like all the sicko Nazis. A lot of them were pardoned as long as they came and like worked for the government and shared their info.
Yeah. And that's how we supposedly got up to the moon. Allegedly.
Unless it was faked, who knows?
There was an episode on Forensic Files I watched about that where this guy was part of this Nazi camp and he ended up being a pastor.
And did what?
I don't know, the whole thing, which is confusing to me. I don't remember there being a specific murder, but they were talking about how they busted him. Like nobody knew. He was like a religious leader in this small town or whatever, and somebody recognized him from somewhere. He was part of some Nazi camp, some lieutenant guy or something.
Good, I hope they found him and did what they had to do to him.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully it was bad. I can't remember the ending of the show. I just remember it being on there, me being like, wait, hold on a second. Let me rewind that and rewatch it.
Operation Paperclip was where they think the US gained some of their knowledge, and through that, they used their knowledge to start MK Ultra. Although I can't find definitive proof that that's what it is, but it was, like, right after they came in, it seems like all this started, and they were already playing with
Yeah.
hallucinogens, so meh.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It's a logical transfer.
And the CIA had already started testing on human subjects with Project Bluebird, which focused on interrogation methods. It was later renamed Project Artichoke, and then that turned into MK Ultra
Gotcha.
with the goal of creating truth serum to use on Soviet spies and to create super soldiers, mind control. But MK Ultra was like the umbrella term for the whole project. Under that umbrella, they had like 150 sub projects. Some of them would focus purely on drug testing, like LSD, barbiturates, and marijuana that they would still try to use, which I think is so funny. And they were seeking out different drugs or techniques that could enhance suggestibility, alter memory, or induce confessions. One of their sub projects was when they would go to prisons, they would offer prisoners their drug of choice. Like, hey, if you used heroin, they would say, hey, do you want to be part of this study? Here's some heroin.
Oh, Jesus.
But they weren't told the full extent of the study. Like, if the CIA wanted to put some LSD in that heroin,
Because that would be such a great idea.
but they're just so grimy, just chesting on people. But I mean, the people in prison, what else are they doing? I don't know.
Well, yeah, living their worst life.
Other projects have been said to use harassment techniques, like they would sexually blackmail,
Jeez.
like they would, if you were cheating on your husband or something, they could blackmail you with that and have surveillance, getting people into compromising situations, then recording it. Like this was in, what was Operation Midnight Climax was what they called it.
Yeah, that one was great. That one was a thumbs up. That's a chef's kiss kind of moment.
According to a later report, MK Ultra was a way to test effects of LSD to voluntary willing participants, in some cases under the guidance of a doctor. So they wondered if people were given LSD without their knowledge, what would happen then? And the head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics signed off on it. He was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's not tell them and see what happens.
The stuff that they got away with just blows my mind.
I guess someone has to do it for it to become a law. Like, don't do it.
Yeah. It's like when you see all those like warning labels on things and you're like, somebody had to have done it for this to be a thing. And it's so dumb.
So don't put Gorilla Glue in my hair. Got it.
Yeah. Don't gorilla glue your eyes shut. Got it.
Check. And the program was organized by Sidney Gaultier. They wanted to see if sex with drugs would cause secrets to be spilled easier. And this was a government-funded and run project. So the government purchased different apartments called safe houses. In San Francisco and New York, they would hire sex workers. And in San Francisco, the sex workers would be paid $100 for each test subject, or John, that they brought back to the safe house. The sex workers would offer the men a drink, and the drink would be laced with LSD, and the women were trained how to lace the drinks.
Lace wasn't the only thing in the room that night. There's two kinds of lacings, unless you're, also putting your shoes on. There's 3 kind of lacings in the night.
And the houses, unbeknownst to the men, were equipped with one-way mirrors, and CIA agents were on the other side watching.
Oh my gosh, this is so...
in these secret viewing rooms. Like, how gross is that?
I wonder if they like walked away when it started getting freaky, or if they were just like taking pictures.
Ugh.
Can you imagine being like, your job is to sit in this room and take pictures of these people getting it on all, like that's your job for blackmail.
And I'd bet money these men also partook in the services the women offered.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that. I don't know. Maybe, probably.
I don't have that much faith
I'd
in
like
humanity.
To think not. Yeah, I'd like to think not. So you're probably right.
The program was later shut down after an audit showed how this was just dosing people without their knowledge, and some of the men that were dosed would just get sick, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days, and need to be hospitalized, and they weren't really getting any information. The only thing they found out was that men spoke after sex, and that was with or without LSD. So there was also a subsection of MK Ultra that focused on radiological effects. They were given the green light to test these and try to obtain this mind control through that, like ionizing radiation on the human mind to see if cognition would be affected.
Oh my goodness. Let's nuke their brain and see what happens.
There were programs focused on hypnosis and interrogation to see if a person could be hypnotized so deeply that they could reveal sensitive information or carry out tasks without knowing it.
Let's hope these people had a good high and nobody had a bad trip.
Mm.
I can't imagine they get somebody and they have a really bad trip and they're trying to get information out of them and they end up murdering the prostitute that they're with or something.
Who's to say that didn't happen? If it did, I'm sure nobody would hear about it. It was
Oh,
there was
exactly.
no oversight on these. It was kind of like just, yeah, that's a good idea. Go try that. Do what you want. Ugh. They had subsections that tested out electroconvulsive therapy or ECT, and they would try to erase memories and implant new ones. So they'd try to induce amnesia and then replace the memories with different ones.
Oh, that'd be nice. That would solve some crappy childhoods.
Would it though? But then you'd wonder like what really happened. Or I wonder if you would know that you're missing memories or it actually made you fully believe that those were your memories.
Well, if it made you fully believe it, then I could see that having some benefits.
Hmm.
I wish somebody could erase a bunch of my past and give me new memories.
They did a lot of psychic driving or depatterning. Also, an attempt to get a patient to regress to like a childlike state and lose memories, trying to break them down and then reprogram them. Dr. Donald Cameron, a psychiatrist, was recruited to work for the CIA in the late 1950s. He lived in New York and he would commute to Montreal every week, to the Allen Memorial Institute of McGill University. There, he would carry out experiments under a subsection of the MK Ultra program. He would dose patients or victims, as they should be called,
Yeah.
with LSD or other drugs like paralytics, and he would use electroconvulsive therapy on them 30 to 40 times more than the normal power.
Oh, geez.
After you're paralyzed, you have LSD in your system. Now you have a paralytic, so you can't move. And now you're getting shocked way more than you should.
This is torture, like complete torture.
Many of these patients went to the institute for help with common mental health issues like anxiety, postpartum depression, and these patients would be put in these drug-induced comas, waking them up only for bathroom or meal breaks. And these comas would last for weeks and sometimes for months. They were placed in what he called sleep rooms, and the goal would be to break them down to a childlike state. And a lot of these patients left way worse off than how they came in. Some suffered incontinence, amnesia, or forgot how to do simple tasks like how to walk, talk, read, or dress themselves.
Yeah, they're making him a vegetable on repeat. That cannot be good for the body.
And once he found they were broken down enough, then he would continue into psychic driving. He would play tapes on loop continuously over and over and over again. They could be like phrases, sounds, voices. So when you're in this drug-induced coma and you can't move, you're just hearing this over and over and over for days, weeks at a time. And the patient didn't have a choice whether to listen or not. Speakers would be placed throughout the room or sometimes inside of helmets that the patients had on,
Oh my gosh.
because he found that some of them fought listening to it, so he just like forced it. And then if they did fight him, he realized it was just easier to put them back into a drug-induced coma and continue to play it on repeat.
That's way easier. Let's just knock them out. I wish we could do that. Somebody pisses you off and you're like, this would be a lot easier for just kapow, and then they're a vegetable. I would be 100% on board with this.
This is like a mad, mad scientist.
Yeah.
He tested on animals as well. One woman lost her 3-year-old child due to a staph infection, and she was pregnant at the time. With a second child, she sought out Dr. Cameron's care to help with depression, anxiety, and postpartum. When in his care, he placed her into a sleeping room where the pregnant woman stayed for a full month. She lost over 10 pounds. I can't believe he could do this to pregnant women too.
Yeah.
Dr. Cameron wrote, quote, "She is disoriented as to the time, and we are continuing this intense treatment of her until we get the complete depatterning." 2 days later, she was considered depatterned, but she was also not able to stand, talk, and could barely swallow now, and was now incontinent.
Oh, nice.
And she needed to be seen by an obstetrician for her heavy bleeding. Once she gave birth, Cameron stopped her treatment.
So they waited till she had the baby and then just nothing?
Yeah.
So we're going to torture you while you're pregnant. And then whenever you have the baby, then we're done with you.
Yeah, and he left her, so now she could barely do simple tasks, so she could barely care for her newborn. And she
Yeah.
never fully recovered from what Dr. Cameron put her through. And there's also the heartbreaking case of Velma Orlikow, who said she went to the Allen Memorial Institute to deal with depression. There she met Dr. Cameron, and she became an unwilling and unknowing participant to his research. He forced her into an isolation cell and forced her to listen to recordings over and over for hours on end, and giving her LSD and other drugs. She left there. Basically, she left the institute not being able to read, write. She wasn't the same again. So these women were going in for help, and he was just destroying them basically and then sending them back out into the world.
That's just ridiculous. And then what sucks is there's probably nobody fighting for these women's rights at all. And they're just like, oh, she's screwed.
There were men too that went in. There's a case of Jean Charles Page. He went into the clinic in 1959. He was dealing with depression and alcoholism. And once he arrived, Dr. Cameron put him into a drug-induced sleep coma for 36 days.
Well, at least he doesn't have to go through withdrawal.
That can't be safe. 30 days of psychic driving where recordings were played over and over and over again. He said it was like a bad horror movie. I would wake up and there would be 5 doctors at the end of my bed chanting, "Kill him, kill him." Like they were trying to frighten him to test his reaction. Imagine that. You're in a drug-induced coma, and when you do come to,
people are at the edge. No.
I can just picture white coats spread out at the base of the bed. Kill him, kill him. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's like Twilight Zone.
Especially because if you're out that long, there's a lag there. So you might not even realize where you are at first and what's going on.
Hoping it's a dream. Yeah, I have no idea. And you still probably have the LSD effect, so you're just seeing more than what's actually happening. There's a lot known about Dr. Cameron's experiments, but there's tons of missing files, obviously, too. There were sections where in his files that talked about mind control assassins that he was trying to create, but unable to carry out operations. And this wasn't just adults. They did this to children, too. They were laced with different drugs and forced to go through all sorts of torturous research.
I just can't get past the fact that this was government funded.
And sanctioned. They signed off. They're like, yep,
Yeah.
Go ahead, do your thing. Although some people did consent to be part of the studies, there's the whole ethical part. They weren't given informed consent. They weren't told what they were signing up for. Some were not given all the information, and some were completely unaware they were even being dosed as part of the study. There's the story of Frank Olson. He worked in a branch that dealt with chemical, biological, and radiological and nuclear weapons in the military. And after he left the military, he went on to work with different top secret organizations, including taking part in the Operation Paperclip with the ex-Nazis. Even after he was discharged, he continued to work as a contracted civilian scientist. He took part in Operation Harness in Antigua. There he tested toxic clouds on animals.
Oh, real winner.
Operation Sea Spray, Operation Area, and Coastal Mist. And this reached San Francisco's 800,000 residents, as well as people in the surrounding cities. He spent time on Fort Terry on Plum Island, which is off of Long Island, which I don't know if you've ever looked into that place. That place is insane.
No.
It's a place where you can only get to by plane or boat because it's secluded, because they tested so many toxins there. It's too dangerous to be on. His specialty was in, how do you say that? Aerosolizing, like aerosol hairspray.
Yeah.
Aerosolizing poisons. Is that a word?
I think that's right. We're going to make it a word. If it's not a word, it is now.
Or biological warfare. He made a lot of gun type stuff, like James Bondy type things, like lipstick that would kill you, or lighters filled with deadly gas, or shaving cans filled with whatever.
Oh, nice. This is my kind of dude.
While he was still a contracted civilian scientist, he was recruited to work with the CIA. There, he worked on what was originally called Project Bluebird, which I mentioned earlier. It originated because a cardinal confessed to things that people thought he could not have possibly done. So they were
Okay.
like, let's call it Project Bluebird. They thought it was,
Cardinals aren't even blue.
no, they're not.
Whatever. Whatever.
Operation Colorblind Bird. They thought it was a mind control situation and wanted to know how to do it. So they sent him to Project Artichoke and then to MK Ultra. And in 1953, Frank Olson received an invitation to a pre-Thanksgiving CIA gathering. These were like semi-monthly retreats that they did. It was like a pretty normal thing to do. It wasn't out of the ordinary. And this one was held at Deep Creek Lake from Wednesday, November 18th to Friday, November 20th, 1953. There were about 12 people there, scientists and other men closely involved with MK Ultra. Wednesday was pretty normal, and then Thursday, the next night right after dinner, the men were all given a drink, some sort of liquor.
Oh.
And a little bit later they were told that they had all been dosed with, quote, a potential truth serum. It was LSD.
Hey, by the way,
Thank you all for coming.
yeah, I regret to inform you that everything that you just partook in was laced with drugs.
Frank Olson had this adverse reaction to it. He ended up going back home after the retreat, but he seemed different. He wouldn't eat, he was distant. And when he went back to work at Fort Detrick, he decided to resign. But a lieutenant colonel was able to talk him down, saying, why don't you go and seek out some psychiatric treatment, see if you still feel the same way after. So he agreed. And then they had a plan to go to New York where Frank could go and see a doctor and be admitted to a hospital for a bit to see if he could figure out how to get back to normal. He was accompanied by two other coworkers who were going to stay at the Slater Hotel. I've seen on the 10th floor or the 13th floor, it doesn't really matter. Either way, that night, the next morning at 2 a.m., Frank Olson fell
Oh, shit.
from his 10th floor window to the sidewalk below in front of the hotel. The night manager heard this and he ran outside to find the cause of commotion, like what just happened. And he found Frank Olson, who was still alive after making that fall and trying to mumble something. And Frank ended up dying shortly before EMS even arrived. The night manager did find the whole thing a bit off, as he would later say, quote, in all my years in the hotel business, I've never encountered a case where someone got up in the middle of the night, ran across a dark room in his underwear, avoiding two beds, and dove through a closed window with the shade and curtain drawn.
Yeah, that's weird.
So when they went up to the room, they found Robert Lashbrook, the man he was traveling with, and the switchboard operator later said, the one from the hotel, reported connecting a call from the room back to, because you know how back then switchboard operators could just kind of hear what's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah, the hot goss.
She connected the call, but also listened in, and she reported that a male from Frank Olson's room made a phone call, and the male that made the phone call said, quote, well, he's gone. To which the other male on the phone, which later would be determined to be Dr. Harold Abramson, who he worked for the CIA, and Frank had been seeing him as a psychiatrist. But he was actually an allergist, not even a psychiatrist.
Oh, jeez.
And the family was notified how Frank Olson had fallen or jumped from the 10th or 13th floor room. And the police report said that Frank Olson threw himself out of the window. The family didn't know what really happened, but they just had to accept the story that they heard, and it was kind of the end of that. Until in 1974, a New York Times journalist named Seymour Hersh published a story alleging that the CIA had performed non-consensual drug experiments and illegal spying on U.S. citizens. This prompted an investigation by the U.S. government into any governmental operations with respect— I'm sorry, this is so much longer than I thought it was.
You're fine.
With respect to intelligence activities. This was chaired by Senator Frank Church, hence the Church Committee. And the committee was one of a series of investigations into the abuse within the intelligence agencies that year, including its House counterpart, the Pike Committee and the President Rockefeller's Commission. And it was revealed by this time COINTELPRO, which was another CIA thing, which was a surveillance and infiltration of political and intelligence agencies. They also had Family Jewels going on, which was a CIA program to assassinate foreign leaders. Operation Mockingbird, which was a propaganda campaign, and MKUltra. The CIA didn't only experiment with humans, they also experimented on animals, which I think we've talked about this one before, Operation Acoustic Kitty, with they
Yeah.
believed that cats could be trained and surgically implanted a microphone and an antenna with batteries for power. Like, what happens when you have to change the batteries, number 1?
Going under the knife.
But this was said to cost about $20 million. So they had this cat all filled with all these devices, antennas coming out of them, and sent the cat on its first mission. And it did what it does because it's a cat, and the cat was hit by a taxi and killed. And that was the end of it. $20 million and all that time and the poor cat. But there is still a report out there from the CIA stating that cats can be trained, which I would love to see that.
Yeah. Tell us the secrets.
But the church committee report read that MKUltra, quote, drugs were used primarily to aid in interrogations, but MKUltra materials were also used for harassment, discrediting, and disabling purposes. They found that 86 universities or institutions were involved, as well as 185 non-governmental researchers and assistants. And that's on top of all the physicians, toxicologists, specialists, and all the medical studies they performed. But the CIA used a lot of front companies to hire and pay people. So some may have been unaware what they were doing, but I'm guessing you'd kind of know what you're doing if you're, I don't know.
Depending on how involved they are, I can see some people being just naive and not thinking anything of it. But then there's always this curious few that are always like, oh, so why are we doing this or why are we doing that? And try to get a little further and a little further. And then they end up,
Out a window.
falling out of a 10-story building. Convenient.
The church committee did criticize the program for its lack of ethics, and it told of a civilian scientist in the church committee findings who worked for the Navy, who was dosed with LSD without his consent or knowledge, had adverse effects, was sent to New York City for mental health, and ended up jumping out of a 10th floor window. And this was actually published in the New York Times and the New York Post. And when Frank Olson's family saw this published, like about this scientist that fell out of a window after all
Yeah.
this, they were like, hey, that sounds very familiar. And they contacted the government. And in turn, the family was invited to the White House where they got a formal apology from President Gerald Ford.
Yeah, I'm sure that did great, right?
Solves tons.
That fixed everything.
And they received an apology from CIA Director William Colby, and they were offered a wrongful death settlement in the amount of $750,000, which the family took.
Damn.
After Frank's wife passed, his son had his father's body exhumed to be buried with his mother. And while he was exhumed, he also had a second autopsy performed. It showed that Frank Olson's body did not have cuts on it as it said it had in the first autopsy, and it wasn't really consistent. It was also found that in this autopsy that Frank had blunt force trauma on his head and his chest injury. And Frank Olson, he was found on his back on the street, so he shouldn't really have that many face injuries.
Yeah. It's like he was hitting things on the way down or anything.
The autopsy found that the injuries inflicted most likely happened prior to the fall. Eric Olson, Frank Olson's son, testified in front of the U.S. House of Representatives at the hearing on the U.S. government's Cold War-era human subjects experiment. There he talked about the mysterious circumstances surrounding his father's death, the lack of transparency with the CIA, and he even tried to sue the CIA, but he already signed that settlement. But he did talk about how the CIA probably got rid of Frank Olson because he'd seen too much and he knew too much about the MKUltra program. He also knew about CIA, they're called black sites.
Yeah.
They were secret CIA. Oh, you know about them.
Yeah. I know about black sites. God, who are you kidding here?
A lot of people don't. They were CIA detention centers where people suspected of being enemy agents or expendables would be tortured many times to death. And Frank, before his death, had been really stressed out. And people that worked in top secret operations, sometimes your conscience kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also funny that in 1953, the year that Frank died, the CIA had a handbook. It was called The Study of Assassination. And in that handbook, it covers the best way to assassinate somebody. It describes how dropping someone 25 feet or more, no, not 25, 75 feet or more, will result in the death being minimally investigated.
Interesting.
And in 1954, a document was executed by the Department of Justice granting immunity to members of the CIA for any crimes which would include murder. Isn't that crazy? The year after his death?
That's convenient.
Frank Olson is just one death directly associated with the program, but who knows? I'm sure that there were way more people that have been silenced or in some way or another because of this.
Mhm.
After all this information became public, President Ford issued an executive order on intelligence activities. There were some legal and policy changes, like informed consent and regulation involving human subjects, prohibiting, quote, experimentation with drugs on a human subject except with the informed consent in writing and witnessed by a disinterested party of each human subject. I have seen that other prolific people may have been test subjects like James Whitey Bulger, the
Mm.
Winter Hill Gang. No?
Mm-mm.
That's
I don't
a
think
Boston
so.
gangsta. He was said to have been given weekly LSD injection while incarcerated.
Oh,
In Atlanta, 1957, Ted Kaczynski,
yes, I know that one.
the Unabomber, he may have been part of the study. Oh, Sirhan, I'm probably saying that wrong. His attorney claims that he was acting under mind control of MKUltra when he assassinated Robert F. Kennedy. Author Tom O'Neill claims that Charles Manson was part of the drug testing of MKUltra.
Interesting. We're seeing some big names here.
I've also read that the person that wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I don't know if you know that movie or book. It's one of my favorites.
It sounds familiar.
He may have been a test subject as well. But many of the records were to be destroyed in 1973, and this was the time of the Watergate scandal. So many of the 150 sub research projects will never be made public. The only reason we know what we do is because 20,000 documents survived due to being filed in the wrong place.
Oh, yeah. Quote unquote, filed into the wrong place. I'm pretty sure somebody stashed those motherfuckers for a rainy
I
day.
Either that or someone wanted something to leak out. Like one of the secretaries or something felt
Yeah.
bad. It was like here. And they put the 20,000 documents with the financial documents so they'd come out that way. I'm hoping that it was a
Yeah.
good person doing it. Yeah, it was released when somebody requested a Freedom of Information Act and they got those files, which were in there, which we all have now access to. There were multiple lawsuits filed, but many were not compensated at all. And even the ones that did get compensation, like, what does that even do?
Yeah, it doesn't fix anything at that point. I mean, it does help. I mean, I'm sure people are hurting for money, but it doesn't really fix the problem that they caused.
Can you imagine the after effects, anxiety, hallucinations? I mean, people that mess with LSD, they do have like long-term effects. Some people don't,
Yeah.
but a lot of people do. The whole story seems to have been buried kind of because of the Nixon scandal, and the whole program seems to have accomplished absolutely nothing besides ruining multiple people's lives and introducing LSD to the world, starting the hippies movement. But none of the scientists or researchers involved at MKUltra were ever brought to justice, but the CIA did say it won't happen again.
Yeah. Believe them. Believe everything they say. They're so trustworthy.
And if you do, go back 2 episodes, listen to Project Gate. Let me know what you think.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us know.
And in an article I read in 2018, there was a newly released project information of MKUltra, which revealed how the CIA was testing out remote control dogs.
Okay.
They took these dogs and implanted electrodes into their brains and surgically implanted battery packs and stimulators where electrodes could be sent and these dogs could be made to turn, run, and stop. I don't know if they ever actually did this out in the field, but
Wow.
it seems like the government is still up to some stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
I don't know. Just the alien stuff. I'm a tinfoil hat now person, anyways, but who knows? This is just very lightly touching on the information that's out there, and I feel like I rambled for a long time. There are a lot of the victims that are still alive of Dr. Cameron.
Yeah, that's just it'd be interesting to meet some of these people just to see what their experiences were, and see if they would open up at all, just because they probably didn't want to talk about it if they were the ones that consented to the whole thing.
There are quite a few people that do interviews on YouTube if you ever want to go down this rabbit hole.
Oh, okay.
And even the child that was in the woman while she was being tested on is interviewed
Oh,
online.
okay, that's pretty badass too.
Yeah, but wow, the government's something.
There's something all right, that's for sure. Yeah, I can't even. And what gets me too is if they were doing that much crazy stuff then, what do you think they're getting away with now?
They're just covering their tracks better.
Mm-hmm. Blows my mind.
But that's all I got. So
Yeah, that's a lot.
I feel like I haven't stopped talking. So
Yeah, I just say a lot of times too, like I think it's interesting that they put together truth serum and brainwashing into the same umbrella. I feel like that should be two different projects, but what do I know? I'm not a scientist. They could be very similar. I don't know. Maybe they affect the same part of your brain.
I just can't believe they use humans like just test dummies. Like, here you go. Let's see what happens to this. All
Hmm.
right, go home. No one's going to believe you. Shut up. Bye.
I can't believe they did it to people that were unwilling. That's what gets
And
me.
children.
I mean, I know there's probably plenty of people out there that are dumb enough to sign up for it, but the ones that are getting dosed without their knowledge, like that blows my mind. Especially like you said, the kids thing, that just it's like Operation Sun or not Operation, it's Project Sunshine all over. No consent.
None.
We're throwing out all these different projects, conspiracies. We're gonna have everybody like Google and everything. Sorry, search engines. You're welcome, Google.
Because we were talking about Project Gate, and after that, a few people were talking to me about more things that they remember. So this was like, oh, I should just do MK Ultra now. It makes sense, kind of.
Hey, it does make sense. I like it back to back. It makes a lot of sense.
Don't trust the government.
Yeah, definitely don't trust the government. We're probably on a list somewhere already. If not, we are
Definitely. Just my Google searches alone would get me on a list.
now. I'm sure mine are too. I guess that's it. Don't forget to check us out on social medias. We do have the Patreon feed over there as well. If you got any questions, concerns, comments, anything like that, you can hit us up at creepitweirdpodcast@gmail.com. And I guess that's it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and remember to creep it weird. Bye.
Bye.